Incredible times shape history. Think August 18, 1920. Women cast their first ballots. Fast forward to 1964, the Civil Rights Act breaks ground. 2015 lights up with marriage equality. Landmark moments? Absolutely. But the journey there? Paved with resistance, years of struggle. People fought, some paid with their lives. Seem impossible? Once, it did. Yet, here we escape. How did once minority opinions reshape the societal landscape? This quest traces back to Serge Moscovici in the swinging 60s and 70s. He broke new ground with his theory of minority influence, unveiling how a steadfast few can sway the masses. Let's dive deeper, but first, zip back to the work of Solomon Asch. Picture this: a room full of people, one person swayed by the majority to ignore the truth before their eyes. This drive to conform, rooted in our tribal history where dissent equaled danger, still tugs at us. The fear of exclusion is real today as it was back then. But times have changed, and we know that bending to the majority isn't the full scope of social influence. If it were, societal shifts like voting rights and marriage equality would remain out of reach. Enter Moscovici, who dared to challenge Asch's narrative. What unfolds is the intriguing interplay between consistency and influence. Moscovici spotted a key factor: conversion. The notion that when faced with a consistent, confident minority, people begin to internalize and later vocalize new beliefs. It's a silent revolution building under the surface, hinging on four cardinal traits: an unshakable behavioral style, the opening for thoughtful reflection, adaptability, and lastly, the potent force of identification. Speaking of behavioral style, confidence and perseverance are king. Consistency convinces. Confusion is the enemy here, folks. A clear, unwavering message paves the way for converting onlookers. Sure, resisting mainstream societal pressures can be like swimming upstream, but without unyielding belief in their cause, minority voices can scarcely hope to rise above the cacophony and affect change. Now, let's tackle systematic thinking. Ever noticed how easy it is to nod along with the crowd? That's superficial thinking. But sprinkle in a counter-opinion, and suddenly, we're all philosophers, dissecting and debating our beliefs, stepping out from the shadows of blind conformity. It's here, in the crucible of deep contemplation, where attitudes shift, where the gravity of a consistent minority viewpoint gains momentum. On flexibility, imagine minority influence as an agile dancer. Not rigid, but willing to flow with the melody of societal change, cherishing each small leap forward. Legal landslides don't erupt from nothing. They build, tremor by tremor, shaped by the willingness to embrace incremental victories on their path to the ultimate goal. Identification, it's the thread that weaves through our social fabric. We're more inclined to consider ideas from those we see a bit of ourselves in. That's why seeing others who look like us or speak like us endorse a belief opens the door to acceptance. Wearing down resistance isn't just a matter of argument, it's a matter of aligning with the right messengers. So, if you're burning for change, navigating against the current, remember these attributes: they're more than traits. They're your toolkit for tilting the scales. This isn't about quick wins, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And on that note, gentlemen, if carving out your path, challenging the status quo, and leading a movement speaks to your core, remember to subscribe. Hit that bell, and join the ranks who dare to make a difference. Your support is the fuel that keeps these dialogues alive. Now, it's time to take this from theory to practice. What steps will you take? How will you embody these characteristics to fuel the changes you wish to see? Reflect on that, debate, discuss, grow. Before we conclude, if today's insights lit a spark, provided value, consider showing your gratitude. Every token of appreciation motivates and affirms the countless hours poured into research and delivery of thought-provoking content. Your support ensures the journey doesn't end here, so take a moment, check the description, and keep this train of wisdom chugging along. Gentlemen, to the changemakers and thinkers, until our next deep dive, keep questioning, keep challenging, and never lose sight of your influence. Greetings, fellow thrill seekers and romantics alike. Ever wondered why heart-racing experiences like amusement parks, horror films, and rock climbing can make for unforgettable first dates? The reason is simple. They get your adrenaline surging, engender a surge of excitement, and could very well be leaving you gazing into your date's eyes, feeling an unexpected flutter in your gut. But let's set romance aside for a moment and talk science. You may be surprised to learn that those butterflies might not solely stem from your magnetic attraction to your date. This phenomenon is known as the misattribution of arousal, and it's a curious example of how our brains can sometimes lead us astray. To misattribute simply means to incorrectly identify the cause of a feeling. Our brains do this more often than we'd like to admit, inadvertently altering our perceptions and memories of the world. When it comes to arousal, rest assured, we're not just talking about the sexual kind. Arousal could mean anything from the triggering of our flight or fight response to simply being jolted awake. We humans love to interpret and seek meaning behind our feelings. Suppose you're on an electrifying first date, hearts pounding, palms slick with sweat. You might conclude your physiological state is due to your budding attraction when, in fact, it might just be nerves from that spine-chilling film or the dizzying climb. Now allow me to draw your attention to a fascinating study. Back in 1974, psychologists Donald Dutton and Arthur Aaron sought to test the theory of misattribution of arousal. They conducted an experiment on two different types of bridges, one stable and serene, the other lofty and unnerving. Their hypothesis? Participants traversing the precarious bridge would confuse their fear-induced arousal with attraction to a woman they met during the experiment. As the men crossed the bridges, they encountered a woman who asked them to tell a story based on a neutral image that was presented to them. Intriguingly, men on the scarier bridge wove more sexual content into their narratives. To wrap up the encounter, the woman would hand out her number for any further inquiries. As predicted, those who met her after the high bridge experience were much more likely to give her a ring. This wasn't just a one-off event. Following studies replicated and expanded these findings. For instance, research published in 1981 called Passionate Love and the Misattribution of Arousal demonstrated that men who were physiologically aroused not only found women in videos more attractive but also judged less attractive women even more harshly compared to their relaxed counterparts. Women are not exempt from this psychological quirk either. A 2017 study revealed that when women listened to stirring music, they rated neutral male faces as more attractive than when they assessed them in silence. So, what's the takeaway for the savvy date planner? Should we all rush to schedule dates that'll max out our adrenaline? Not necessarily. The bigger lesson is understanding yourself and your physiological reactions. You might mistake excitement, anxiety, or even indigestion for attraction. Being mindful of your bodily reactions and the surrounding context helps you avoid misjudging your feelings. We've navigated through the psychological maze of attraction and arousal, but perhaps the most crucial insight here is self-awareness. By becoming more attuned to your body's signals, you can discern genuine attraction from mere adrenaline-fueled excitement. I hope this deep dive into the workings of attraction and arousal has sparked your interest, and if it has provoked any questions, feel free to raise them in the comments. And remember, if you cherish learning and enrichment, consider subscribing to the channel, hitting the like button, and activating the notification bell. By doing so, you'll be well on your way to broadening your understanding and enhancing your date nights. As we part ways, ponder for a moment on the lessons we've explored today. Call to action. What are the takeaways you plan to apply to your life? If you found this exploration of the heart's whims enlightening, and it adds value to your quest for knowledge, feel free to express your gratitude. A direct link can be found below in the description for those inclined. Until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and continue your journey towards self-discovery.